support that problems that you encounter, as you just lamented, the problems, challenges that you have, what support that you expect from the CSOs, coordinations, or the other stakeholders in ensuring women are empowered more. It's not about being positive discrimination. No, it's just to make sure the equity, because we know the roles or the responsibilities they have in society that give them constraints, in fact, to participate in some of these forums.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. I think you said it all, because women has a very crucial role when it comes to development, say society, in the family, you name it. I may not, just to save time, I will not go into that. But we have we have solicited funding from international partners, and they are forthcoming, considering that we've just produced a private members bill to reserve 14 seats for women across the country, to ensure that decision making is inclusive, because we feel that we are left out due to sociocultural norms and beliefs. And to overcome that, with the failure of the constitution, of the draft constitution, where we had very constructive and very developmental oriented provisions for women, it's a shame that it has been rejected by the parliament. But nonetheless, what we've seen is that the political will is not there. Still, women still face challenges, despite the fact that people always say, "Oh, okay, in the constitution we're saying that there are provisions that ensures that there is equal participation and representation of women in decision making." But in reality, that's not the case. We all know that, because if you look at our national assemblies, it's 53 seats and only 6 are women, and even some are nominated. The number becoming 6 is by virtue of the fact that there is a nomination process that goes on with the president. But I think from experience, we are now the darling of most development partners, because we have this bill and everybody wants to see this bill go through. But the experience that we are having, the challenges that we are having, is that the problem that we have in this country is system problem. Our system has a problem, because what happens for the system to work effectively, for me, and that's my own opinion, and from the experience in passing this bill, lobbying this bill to go through, is that we've got people that haven't got the capacity in our institutions. And this is a fundamental problem that we need to look into. Because the ordinary people, the ordinary women, has to run after the bill like we run after little children, just to ensure that the bill moves from one place to another. And not only I don't know what's happening, but we have a problem. We have a problem, and we need to look into this. And I'm sure this, you're suffering the same, because it's another constituency. The diaspora is another constituency. Just as we're proposing for seats, and we had to compromise in the sense that we have to ask for 14 extra seats drawn from the 7 administrative regions of the Gambia, including 2 additional seats for people living with disabilities.
May I interject there and suggest, probably part of the problem too is, as CSOs, do we really collaborate, or do we see ourselves as sectarians in the struggle? That these people are diaspora problems, these are women problems, or these are youth problems, or whatever. What about seeing all the problems as a constitutional problems? But again, we can still see our platforms to empower our positions, but to come together and put all these problems and push it, and to make sure we have results out of this.
I think I was coming to that, because when when we proposed this bill, in Section 88 that we proposed for it to be open. And then even when we had, it was when we had consultation with one of the institutions, one of the ministries. And actually they said that if we open Section 88, it will also accommodate diaspora constituency.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was a positive thing. So now, what I will suggest is that after this meeting or any other platform that we can set up, we come together to see how we can mobilize. And because the bill is being gazetted.
Yeah.
It's not gone through yet. So I think there is an opening which can open up another constituency. Now we have the women's reservation seats, which are put in. We have 2 extra seats for people living with disability. We have an other seat for a constituency from the diaspora. And obviously, if that happens, then you'll have to vote for whoever you want to represent, or you can even call for 2 seats also. And I think this is something that we can look into. And as you said, CSOs, if we want system change, it's for everybody to come together. We can working in silos and push our own interests as one constituency, as we had done in the reservation bill for women, and also the for disabilities. Yeah. I think when I heard you said, I felt bad because at least we could have done effort to reach out.
Yeah,
we're into this, and what's your take in it?
Thank you.
I think this is an opening.
Thank you very much, and that's why we have this program here, so that we can, communicate, engage each other to find the solutions, and that might be part of what we have to do next. Would be to bring all the CSOs together and have a platform that we can put all these problems and push it through. And that take me back, to a youth in the group here, Killer Ace, part of the panelists. Killer Ace. Killer Ace should be with us.
He's mute.
Yeah.
He's mute.
You mute, Killer Ace. You're mute. You are mute. Okay, thank you.
Is it better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Welcome, brother. If you just want to introduce yourself, and I will put the question to you.
Thanks once again for having me as part of this session. My name is Ali Chan. I go by the name of Killer Ace. I'm a rapper, I'm an activist, and I'm also the president and co-founder of Team Good Support Youth Movement. And
if you don't mind, get closer to the mic. We're not hearing you properly. If you don't mind, get closer to the mic. Okay. Try that now.
Killer Ace, if you can hear us, if you can speak without the video, maybe that might be better, because we can't hear you clearly. If you lose the video, you might save on the bandwidth and we'll be able to hear you. We might be able to hear you better.
I've just done that. Is it better now?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. You can go on.
Hi, you're welcome. Thank you. My name is Ali Cham, commonly known as Killer Ace. Commonly known as Killer Ace. I'm a rapper. I'm also an activist. I'm the president and one of the founding members of Team Gumsa Bopa Believe in Yourself movement. And Team Gumsa Bopa is basically a movement that uses arts to engage, sensitize the masses, especially the young people, in the day-to-day affairs of what's happening in the country. Over the years, we've definitely played our part in trying to keep the government accountable with projects like barometer on their promises. We've organized a few protests in the past, one which was the Dafadoy protests, to fight against or speak up against all of the things that we fought for against yesterday, and still seeing it happen, and also we organize youth-led activities and musical concerts, with platforms like the Cypher, so that we can get artists and get the young people engaged through music and arts. So that's basically who I am, and thank you so.
Thank you. Thank you, Clarice. We will want to have your experience and concerning this election cycle or past election cycles, but especially on this election cycle, where with the registration going on now, on the perspective of engaging the youth and the youth problems in getting the youth to register. And we don't have any count on numbers on youths, but we only have count on numbers of women.
Ben, I can't hear you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's only me.
It's not just you, Suleiman. We can't hear you properly, so I'll just take over from you now, and if you can sort that out. Killer Ace, my name is Elizabeth Source. I'll be taking over from Suleiman for now until he sorts out his technical issues. I believe Suleiman was asking questions with regards to the youth vote, the youth participation, and what you can tell us with regards to sensitization, mobilization, and getting them to register to vote, knowing that the vote is their voice. Can you give us any advice on what you've been doing on the ground to ensure that we have full participation from our youthful population? Over to you, Killer.
Yes, thank you. Well, one of our major activities, which is this Sunday coming on July 4th, is a Cypher platform, which is an open mic concert with rap battle competition. And the Cypher is one of our biggest platforms. Each event we can mobilize up to 3,000 people per event. And it's one of our main communication platforms. So on Sunday, we will have a mega concert at the beach, at Taranga Beach, where we will have various artists come perform, and each artist would have the message of go get registered and go basically trying to engage the youth. And at the event itself, we're gonna have information of the voter registration centers, on a ticket, so that everybody that comes in, you basically know where you can go get your registrations at. At the event. So after the event, if you live in Cololi, you already know the area, or so other civil society who has just so through that platform, we could, engage thousands and thousands of young people, for them to go register and vote. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Killer Ace, for that response. Can I just ask you again, as a follow-on on that question, are your activities just based on the rural area or on the urban area, or are you going into the rural area as well?
Well, as of now, we're just targeting the urban area as one. Financially, everything that we're doing with this event is coming out of our pocket, no funding, nothing. So as of now, we're just doing it in the local areas, which is the uptown. As you can see, it has more population of youth than anybody in any other region. Everybody from all of the regions come to KMC anyway, and as this is where most of the main activities happen. So if we can just get as many young people here in KMC, that basically means that we've technically touched the length and breadth of the country, as everybody, no matter where you're from, you always have somebody that's in the rural areas, and we will always make sure that we let them know to get them involved, through easy platforms, But long term, after this event, after the registrations close, we will have nationwide events similar with the Cypher. We're working on projects like that so that we can go and sensitize the youths on how to vote responsibly, and sensitize them on, how to make sure that they vote wisely as well, and just not follow the normal structure of politics where it's all about the Humbai, the Sabar, the politician come and make promises, blah, blah, blah. But we want to engage the youth so that they can be a new mindset of youth who would vote based on listening to policies, based on, sound thinking, and not just out of hype or out of tribe or out of, because because of the main reasons why.
Yeah. We seem to be losing you, Killer Ace.
Yeah, so that's going to be the and it's a project called. Okay, hello. Hello.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, it is better now. If you can just repeat the last bit you were talking about, because that seems to be important. The last information that you were giving out to the youth so that they'll know what to do and where to go if they're listening.
Exactly. Yes. So that project is going to be the Your Vote Matters. That's basically going to be the upcoming campaign so that we engage the youth and, try our best to use our platforms to show them that, as the young man or as the young woman, you have to vote wisely and responsibly and don't fall for the trap of our mothers and fathers who just vote based on a Sako Malo or vote based on tribe or vote based on hype and Humbai and etc. But, to be youth who can actually vote based on policies, based on reading manifestos, based on sound thinking, and not just throwing away your vote like that, as we realize that youth in general are discouraged to vote. Like most of the youths do not want to vote. Like they don't even care. That's the fact, because of the fact that they play a part in the process, and at the end of the day, they're neglected after somebody gets into power. Example, what is happening now. We all understand that the youth played a major role in the last minutes, to bring the change. And we're at the front line. And now they're still going to the back way. They're still being arrested by police. They're still, going through the situations that they were going through before. And situations like that leads to them not wanting to participate. So with the Your Vote Matter project, hopefully we can at least have a nationwide tour where we can at least reach more than 50,000 people in different localities and areas. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Killer
ever so much, Killer Ace. Your vote matters. Yeah. Suleiman, can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
Suleiman, can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Okay. Do you want to take over now?
Yes, I'll take over.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'll take it.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to get Ibrahim Ajade to be not the least, but the last for the first round. Then we can follow the round again. We are an hour into the program. Mr. Jane, welcome on this platform, and as a youth who have a platform. I'm engaging youths on the democratization and other youth development, and not only that, being the president of the Kumbasila organization in the United Kingdom, and you are in the diaspora, but projected to the youths on the ground. What would be what challenges did you notice on encouraging the youths to participate in these elections? As a CSO, too, what do you expect that CSOs could do to improve the networking and to strategize in making sure these elections are free and fair and peaceful?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Suare. And I think, yes, we have a platform, Greenwood Online, and it's increasing, getting popular. But I think, it is imperative to emphasize that, to take note that the right to vote is recognized in our constitution and must be enforced, by all means, really. And if you go to Article 31, Banjul Charter, Gambia ratified that also. You can have all these international conventions and civil rights that Gambia ratified, and it need to be enforced. So the election will not fair if we go against our own constitution for diasporas not vote, about nearly 200,000. But what we understand on the ground is, I don't think youths and even the civil societies in the diaspora, they don't understand, the power that they have to make the necessary changes, instead of getting fed up and all those things, demanding that, they're not doing what we want and all those things. These politicians, as we said, by definition, they are, partisan and individuals who first, they are interested for their political parties, and in fact, that such a right has to be made possible by politicians who will first consider the impact of any decision that they are doing on their interests, on their political parties and all those things. So I think the diaspora, we have the consequence powers that we can, it's us to use, to force these political leaders, we all talking about the political wills and all those things. From 16 or 18 to 35 years in the Gambia, these are, more than almost about nearly 60% of our population. They have the power. The civil society need to weigh in and project and educate, and I think the civil associations need to collaborate more, to share knowledge, to share information, to coordinate properly, to educate our people, especially the youths. They are the majority. They have the power to change and demand. When we are organized to that level, this politician will listen to us. But it seems we are all begging, we are yearning, we are pleading to them to give us the political will and all those things. Let's get organized. And we have to understand that we have power. The civil societies, the diaspora, the 200,000, the economic cloud that we have, if we can be dynamic enough to come together and collaborate, especially with the civil society associations, the youths on the ground, and pluralize our presence, not only in the Banjul areas or Serekunda areas or Gunjur areas, but to go to other areas. And we have women now that are coming, that politicians are being used, and abused and all those things, but they're not educated enough. So those can be our role, and we have to understand the power that we have. Once the civil society, we are dynamic and be motivated and continue to expand our involvement in the democratization of the country, we have to demand these things. The politicians, they are very, very comfortable. Look at IEC, what they are saying, they don't even have the courtesy to call us, the civil society, the diaspora, and say, let's discuss this thing. What do you have on the table? What can you offer? They don't even do that because they don't care about us. They know we are toothless lions. And we, at some point, we have to blame ourselves. You will expect that an electoral management body, if 200,000 Gambians are demanding their rights, constitutional rights, they will at least offer us, to come and discuss and have dialogue. What do you have? In Kombasilla here, in our association, we have young people who are savvy in technology. We have human resources that we can coordinate with the IEC, with the Gambian embassy, and put things down, the profiling, the mapping, the registration of, and help. What we need is Senegal started with 15 countries voting. Now it's about nearly 49 countries, and Senegal, partitioned the whole of the world into about 8 regions. So in diasporas can offer a lot, but if they don't even have the courtesy to call us and say, what can you offer? Let's think these things through together and see what is possible, what is not possible. Just to come and say, one day they will say something else, the constituency things, you're not constituency, you are not this. And yesterday I had Honorable Sana Jawara on Gunjur online, and I was pressing him why, the private bills and all those. What he said is, you put the bill there and, they record whatever, they will sit on it. And you will do anything. They will not do anything, just to push them to come to the floor. So, but diaspora, I think, and the youths, they don't realize how powerful they are. And I think Mr. Benga have said, at some point, we need to organize, and we need to realize we have teeth, and we can roar. And that means we have to demand our rights. We don't have to see the politician to give us. All these people, the youths, the youths, the diaspora and their economic cloud, their influence on their families. I have about nearly 10 people that I'm directly feeding from here. I have influence on them. If these people are not listening to us, let's strategize. Let's go back and see how can we put our case forward. Because these are people, the IEC and the government and all the institutions, that they don't even want us to sit with them and discuss, because they think that, we are not going to vote them, the diaspora are not going to support us. But it seems we are only talking about politicians, the political parties do this and this. We are more powerful than them. We are supporting these political parties on the ground. We're doing everything for them. So let's strategize. Let's go back and unite, speak in one voice, coordinate. We have diversity between us and we have to respect that. But, let's collaborate, let's share information, let's share our expertise, the diasporas, the CSOs, and the youth specifically. I'm listening to Killer A's. I think Killer A's and all those have a lot of clout. And let them tell these youths to recognize their power. Let them not give up. They have power to change things. And we have to recognize that. Once we recognize that, the governments are going to listen to us. 200,000 diasporas, even if you have 100,000, and we all have 2 people that we can influence in the Gambia, that's a big thing. That's a big. If we can fight against the Ayajame, I think we. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ibrahima. Thank you very much, Ibrahima, for putting that bluntly. That we should look after ourselves. And we should not be in competition. We should be collaborating in order to have things done. We have to hold them accountable and not only talk about, try to lobby politicians, but to put our foot down and make sure the institution mandated to do things will do things. I would appeal to people, if they're comfortable to speak in local languages, let them come forward. I'm moving the questions now to another question we have to try and get it round the table. And I want to start with Mr. Njai. Charles Njai, we're starting the round again. If you are available, I want to split the next question to you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Charles Njai. What can civil society do to ensure that all eligible voters are sensitized to register and ensure the registration is policed to avoid registration of those who are not eligible, and that include, to be included in the voter register. We understand if you want to hide on the electoral process, how it's conducted or how they can be challenged or how people can be challenged. But again, should we be proactive to avoid resulting to the dispute courts? Would we have enough time if we leave the floodgates open and to challenge all that during the districts? Or prevention is better than cure? What would you say about the civil society? What can they do?
Well, I think it's the question would have been better to say what is civil society already doing, because there is a lot of work already on the ground. For the first time, I believe we have a civil society observation of the registration process. This is key because in time past, really we cannot even guarantee that the number of voters or registered voters, we cannot really guarantee that that number was authentic. Obviously, under dictatorship, the issuing of ID cards, the issuing of attestations, all those ones were highly questionable. So, but now we are, civil society is engaged in the process. The CSO Coalition on Elections is observing. Peace ambassadors are doing a phenomenal job, also observing the registration process. Now, when it comes to whether we could really stop the non-nationals and those that are not eligible to register, I don't think we can stop. We could always blow the whistle when we observe such. When we do our briefings, we could highlight if we see such. But again, I think both civil society and the general public should be ready to contest. If we see, like, we see pictures of underage, or some that look as if they are underage, that are registering and all that. If we have that evidence, we should be ready to take it to the revising courts. Also, I know the political parties are also doing some work. The only problem I think we will have is if people begin to short circuit the process by saying, well, this one is not eligible. There are people even looking at people's skin tone and saying whether you are Gambian or not. So Ben, probably if you are here, people will be questioning.
My elder brothers have been harassed before for permits. I mean,
yeah, but that's not right. So, I mean, to look at somebody and decide or conclude that the person is a non-national, I think is unfair. So what we advise as civil society is, I have been talking to some of the political parties, especially when it started, some started stopping people. I spoke to the people I know and said, look, this is not right. If you have observations, if you have queries, jot it down. There will be a time for that. The list is going to be published. If people have questions or queries, they should be able to look at the list. And that is one of the other problems that we have as Gambians. We can talk as much as we can, but when it comes to action, go down, look at the list. If you have questions, queries on some names there, you have to bring it out, report it. If the revising courts begin to sit, take the matters to the courts. Don't just sit and say, well, we don't agree or we don't accept the process. And I know IEC also is doing a lot. In fact, yesterday in our interaction with the CEO, he said that they are going. There is a cleaning of the register that is ongoing to take out all those that have registered twice, because we cannot overlook the fact that, well, the illiteracy rate, and some people deliberately will go and register in two different registration centers. So we need to look at all that, but we also are going to be working very closely with the IEC as an observation team to see that the register is clean. One of the things that I have said, and nobody is taken seriously for now, is that the 1 million target of the IEC, to register 1 million, and I don't think that included the diasporan vote or the diasporan, all of you in the diaspora. That 1 million target, for me, it is very flawed. If the projections were taken from the 800,000 registered voters in 2016, and we know that that 800,000 figure was definitely not accurate, because obviously under the dictatorship we know what was being done on the ground. If you project from 800,000 and your foundation of projection is flawed, then your 1 million will be flawed. So we need to. I have asked them what percentage of the eligible voters is the 1 million, and nobody can tell me. So we don't even know if we get to 1 million, have we registered more voters that are eligible or not? It's something that I have been talking to the Bureau of Statistics. I have also challenged Seth Mati and his team that into research, that we have to get to the bottom of this so that we don't come up with a registration role that is bloated. But these are some of the things that we are doing on the ground to ensure that there is integrity in the process. And hopefully, I believe that as much as is in our power as Gambians, we will have a very highly credible elections. Especially so if diaspora, all of you in the diaspora have a chance to exercise your rights by voting.
Thank you. That's well noted. The discrepancy in the old registration is well noted, and it's official for that matter, because the dictator himself have petitioned and asked for 300,000 votes, which evaporated or whatever it had happened to it. But that's a very important point, and I expect the leadership of the civil society would take it onto them and to ensure this is, ratified, because this is part of what keeps the peace. Because if we start throwing out numbers that are not realistic, at the end of the day, people going to quote those numbers, to make a point, and we'll have a problem. Mr. Cham, Omar Cham, from the Youth Parliament, the prevention better than cure, the role that civil society can play in this, apart from the physical approaching people, to challenge them for suspicion of being illegible, either being convicted or be foreigners. What other measures do we think that we could have exploited, or we should exploit now? What about holding the political parties, inter-party, for in that case, to come to be proactive in taking part in denouncing the practice, because we have seen this issue of attestation really starting to be an undercurrent of destabilizing or undermining the credibility of our elections.
Thank you very much. Once again, if you permit me, before I answer that question, I would actually deliberate on the role of the National Youth Parliament in involving young people and in actually encouraging them to vote, because this has been a primary function of our existence, that is to promote voting from the aspect of young people. And over the years, we actually have been conducted of activities in this regard. So the National Youth Parliament's role, especially when it comes to promoting free and fair elections, has been from the process of pre-election, during election, and post-election. And this actually comes into the side of promoting first voter registration. On top of that, promoting voter education around the country to teach people, how to vote, why to vote, and where to vote. And on top of that, we serve as election observers, during the voting period, to make sure that we're able to assess the credibility, the freedom or the fairness of the elections that have been taking place already. We have taught the country around to promote people to actually vote, especially the youth and the women. And this did not actually stop at the Greater Banjul area. We went as far as Basse, and they had to reach our communities, where we were able to successfully sensitize over 100 communities through a caravan, radio program, TV shows, public space engagement. And on top of that, we also did social media engagements, where we published posters that indicated the issues around the registration and the materials you need to register, what are the registration dates, and as well did a Twitter chat, to have a question and answer session on Twitter to make sure that people are fully updated as to what election is about. And this is just the beginning, because we will be taking part in the voter education as well, and as well with the election observation.
Well done. Now,
when it comes to the issue of holding people to account, for registering people that are actually not eligible to register. At first, as well, we have to understand that in order for you to register, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to be 18 on the day of registration. And this is something that we always put up there, because some people would report people based on that at 18. But we have to understand that so long as the person will become 18 years old on the 4th December, the person is actually qualified to actually register and subsequently in elections to actually vote. On top of that, the best measure I think that can be employed is through the use of the law, the court of law. The reason why we have the laws here is to guide us on our operations. So it's not right in any way for someone to just take everything single-handedly to prevent someone from registering, no matter how suspicious you are of the person, that the person is not actually qualified to vote. So what could be done is to take your time, allow the proceedings to go. And then if you feel when the publication is done and or you feel like this person is actually not qualified, then you can take the matter to court, and the court will actually take charge of, what could be done. And on top of that, we have to understand as well that right now in the voter registration, there is what we call voter registration observers of the voter registration process. And these are people that have been deployed to these registration centers to actually observe and assess if the registration process was carried out freely and fairly, and if people are actually doing the right thing, emanating from the IEC staff, coming down to the political parties who have their representatives there. And the golden rule has always been to observe and to stop at observing. Like, you have no right or authority to interfere in terms of the proceeding. What your role is to report back if it is credible or not. So the importance of this observance is the fact that when issues are being raised later in a court of law, the report from the observers would be able to help to either authenticate or demystify some of the claims that have been put across. And we have, driven so much success on this aspect, especially if we go back to the presidential elections in 2016, when someone actually, of course, the former president wanted to reject the results. And it was great that we had observers on the ground who actually attested that the election was free and fair. So that tells you to a very large extent that the observers there too would help in giving way to the credibility of the electoral process. And of course, the political parties have significant roles when it comes to ensuring that there is free registration, where there is fair registration process. How? Because we know, even though it's not all Gambians that would register, would actually come from political parties. I mean, as in, not everyone that have registered to vote would publicly declare itself as a support of a political party. But we know a lot of people actually would come because they're being mobilized by their political party to come and register. Now, in that mobilization process, what the political parties must be very much careful about is to note that there are criteria for one to be qualified in order to take part in the elections. If you know that the person you're encouraging to go and vote is below the age of 18 and will not turn 18 on the 4th December, it means the law has actually deterred you from making any form of advocacy or encouragement for that person to go and register. On top of that, when you go assign your party agent to go and make sure that they observe the election, you must also inform them of the course of conduct of an observer, not to interfere in the process of the election, and be careful of giving misinformation to the public regarding the eligibility of certain voters that are being registered. And you also look at the issue aside the attestation, where someone would actually come and be attested by a village alcalde or a chief. You understand, in the registration process, the IEC staff will have to use your national documents to make the registration. So it will be a little bit weird, like for an IEC staff to have your national identity card, which indicates that you actually qualify to vote, like you're over 18, and they want to enter the details of that, and someone from somewhere wants to come and interfere. That's not true. It might not be very easy to detect that this was not true because there's already a document that is being presented. So the only way you can be able to challenge this and maybe have a chance is to take it to the court of law. So my advice is we remain calm and collected, and in due diligence, wait until the registration process passes. And if there is anything that actually comes along that someone did not register eligibly, then we raise it. However, this doesn't mean we have to pull our hands to allow things that are not right to take place. If we can prevent them without breaking the law in the process or without actually subjecting our peace to conflict, so long as it will not have a harm on our peaceful coexistence and our peaceful existence, then it means we can take necessary steps before it is too late, as the golden rule goes, prevention actually is better than cure. And
Thank you, Mr. Cham. Thank you, Mr. Cham. We're running out of time. I just want to give this to get other people's to have the input on this very important point. And I want to have the experience of people who are on the ground right now. And I would start with Aisha. Aisha, for your experience in the diaspora in Senegal and other areas, what advice would you have for the CSOs and the other stakeholders on how do we conduct ourselves to ensure that the right people are registered, the wrong people are not registered, end up going into our electoral register and undermining our democracy and the integrity of this election, which might lead to violence.
Thank you. The previous speaker talked about being calm. I think even when it could be frustrating to see some people who are not Gambians register on the have voters card, I think we should go with calm because let's not forget this is a country in transition. report to the indicated authorities that should handle that. And before all of that, I think it's everyone's responsibility, starting from the alcalo, who can give an attestation, to the people issuing birth certificate, to make sure that people they're issuing those documents to are Gambians and they have the required documents to register. I just want to comment and highlight actually the fact that the civil societies on the ground have, they have the coalition and they, following, I'm in the WhatsApp group, so they're following, tightly following actually the processes, and it's really very informative for me. My organization has registered to officially be part of the coalition, hopefully. We've been waiting for a long time because we have experience from around the continent, and we would want to continue to contribute to the Gambian experience, because we've been working in the Gambia since 2015, and we've done a lot in the 2016 election. I was on the ground with other people. So we hope that we will be, we will have the acceptance and be able to share our experience with them. I see everyone is committed. There's a lot of excitement, but I think also we should, be able to pause some time and not take things out of, because it's very easy for things to get out of hand, and we don't really need violence. There's already an increase in crime in the Gambia, so we wouldn't want, and I'm sure people wouldn't want to add a political crisis onto that. So for me, I would just want to give recommendations, because I'm not sure I'll have the opportunities to speak again. Specifically, when it comes to the diaspora, we all know that even if it's 10% or 50%, some people actually more than 100% contribute to the livelihoods of people who are in the Gambia, because we all know that the salaries that are being paid there can't do anything for anyone. So I think as CSOs in the diaspora, we should work more with political party representatives in the diaspora as well, because I am sure the contribution that they're making to those political parties, financial, are very important, and it would be good to bring them to the discussion, for them to talk to their political leaders and see the importance of them also being able to contribute, to actually have the possibility of voting and having their voice represented. The other one I wanted to recommend is that I think we should further engage. I know some people have done, but we should further engage with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the diaspora and the directorate in charge of diaspora, because these people, sometimes I have the impression that people who are serving or elected or whatever, they forget that they're representing the masses. They think that the relationship is the other way around. But I think despite the difficulties, we should continue to engage. Because that's what we can do, and we should also continue to raise awareness. When we talk to our people, our families, let's start with them, discuss, raise their awareness on what needs to be done, and it's for everyone's good. And I think also actually the authorities should be happy that there are Gambians who have all these opportunities outside and still want to come back and contribute to developing this country. There's some people who've changed nationalities for good and they don't even want to hear about the Gambia. But you have this group of people who want to go back and give back. So why try to make it difficult while you got elected because those people contributed a lot to what you've become? So that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aisha. And I like the strategy of encouraging our people, diaspora, to engage our families into the politics and to enlighten them more. And I think there's no other quicker way of making the change or the enlightenment better than engaging our own people in the process. Thank you. And I'll assure the rest of the panelists will get round to all of you. Inshallah, we will extend the time a little bit to ensure that you all have your opportunity to give your remarks, closing remarks. I want to move to Hadi Kurbali. Hadi, your experience from America, being participating in the elections in America and others, because I keep on telling people, look, there is nothing like you can learn from someone else, especially if they're doing things better, or even if they're doing things wrong. We can learn from that and avoid it. And the American elections have been the most controversial elections we have seen. You've been in the midst of it. Mm-hmm. What is strategies or things that you can address? This is not to the people alone. I want you to try and take this opportunity to address the stakeholders on what they should do and avoid, especially enforcing the law. Why people would have the audacity to openly be elected or be nominated to be alcalde or chief or whatever it is, or political representative, to be breaking the law in broad daylight?
Thank you so much for that question. And yes, we're going to compare two completely different environments, I guess, if I must say, with the way policy and the laws work. I have been definitely very active in the recent elections and political environment over here. I'm pretty sure some people have seen the panels that I have done and all this. I speak to the representatives. But I think the rule of law is what takes over in most of these places like the US, and which in the Gambia is ignored. Gambia complacency is our problem. Most of the underlying problem is on complacency. Killer Ace, I think, mentioned that we need to educate the people on knowing that they're voting for what works for them, for what they want, for what is their right to have in their country, not Sakumalo Binyawaraleka. There's a very big difference there. The illiteracy rate is also part of that problem. So if you still want to expend and put your time into educating those people, you will change the environment. We have to change the mindset of our people for them to understand that what they see from here in the US, in the political environment or in our day-to-day lives as luxury, it's not. It's what should be afforded to them as individuals in Gambia. They are Gambians and they voted for these political leaders for that reason. We also need to stop trying to bring in people that see the government as a place to eat and not to serve. Ms. Aisha said that too. So when you get together as a group to look at the right political people, to the politicians that need to represent you, you look at their interests, you look at the policies that they support. The groups that I'm part of, I had supported with the Nigerian American PAC that I first sat with when Ossoff and Warnock were running, and we really pushed the interest and knowing what their policies were, knowing what it was going to do to the immigrant community. We didn't even just focus on the US as a whole. So that's why it was really important to us to put those two in office. It's the same thing that we would do with any local officials. You have to look at their interest and then make sure that whatever they follow, whatever they're pushing is for you as an individual too within their constituencies. So you can't just look at someone. We have to change our mindset. Our political environment is full of corruption. It's full of people that are going there to line their pockets. That's the truth of the matter. And if we don't change our mindset to also start looking at government as a place to serve and not a place to go and get rich, we're just continuing the cycle. That's all it's going to be. So people have to look at what development means, what your rights are, what you're doing for your country, for the country to move forward, and then put your foot forward and push your agenda and support those that are going to put you in a better place. The back way that we mentioned, the poverty that we mentioned, is just the lack of opportunity and resources are the reason why most of us are in the diaspora. We didn't have to leave. We could have stayed in the Gambia. We went out for greener pastures. But, for most of us, the grass is not greener on the other side. Most people don't realize that people are giving up their meals to send them money in the Gambia so they can survive. That's the reason why some of them are not going to Gambia to register to vote, because they can't. So we have to understand that they left to take care of their families without a choice. And the fact that they're doing that for your country to survive, for you to survive within the country that they wish they would have lived in right now. We need to recognize that effort and make them part of the citizenry so they can also vote and change the environment in the Gambia. I think that passion, if it's built within people, and let's start with the youth, we have to change the narrative. We can't, I feel like we're repeating the same cycle. If you keep doing the same thing over and over without a result, it's madness, it's craziness, and we have to stop it somewhere. So the fact that I see the youth are charged, they're pushing, and there are a lot of people that are interested in talking and making moves. Yes, we're talking and we're doing that. A lot of these policies that we're talking about, I hear them talking about observing, going to the election polls or registrations and reporting. Who are you going to report to? Who's going to do anything about it? The moment you take that there, the person is going to say, That's it. And then you're going to lose your stipend. You're going to lose your money that's going to line your pocket. And then you don't make any policy movements. But the boldness has to come from those people that are seeing it. I think someone mentioned that power is not given to you. You have to take it. You need to make that move. We need to stop talking too much and make that move. We are hungry. We are ready. We need to make the move together. The silos would not help us at all. I think we've seen that here. So back to the political environment. What helped us in the recent elections, especially with the runoffs that we did not too long ago, that caused so much instability and anger. Matter of fact, there's a new lawsuit trying to sue Georgia on the voter elections again, saying that it's not legal, which is a waste of resources. But there's a reason that happened. We saw the need, we got up, and we made the move. We band together. We had an African coalition, and literally we had people coming to talk to us because they knew that togetherness was there. And if we did that and we voted, we will put people that will put the right policies in place for the betterment of the people. So that's exactly what needs to happen with this coming elections. Excuses has to be put aside. We're ready. I mean, if it takes me printing the election papers or ballots and put pictures of the people that are running on there so folks can come and vote, and then it gets shipped later to the Gambia so people can count, we'll make it happen. It doesn't matter. But it takes all of us across the globe to decide that that's what we would do in the different countries that we're sitting in Europe, in the US, whatever. We have that. Make it easy. Fine. They don't want to make it easy for us. Let's make the solution easy and say, here, you don't have to worry about it. We figured it out. This is what it's going to take, and we'll bring it back to you. And let's see if that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. The whole idea of not listening is just totally beyond me. Aisha said it. We're in the 21st century. There's nothing impossible. The registration, how can you register someone that's not going to be 18 before the 4th? You have to have a database that would stop you from doing that. Mm-hmm. Unless you change their date of birth, that's what would happen. We have really talented IT people in the Gambia, but I'm pretty sure someone made this recommendation to build a database and it was scrapped because it's not to their interest. The whole thing, build it and work on it and make the change. You just have to.
Thank you very much, Hadi, and I'm glad we have you here today. The reason being is, the other day, Professor Fall made a statement and said that it would be the festival of democracy. And when that happened, Ajara popped into my head. And I can see how you guys will just spring out there and just make it a celebration of our achievements and even the beginning of our democracy and be that. And not only Ajara, but just ask every other we see in Scandinavia, England, Spain, or other places. Mm-hmm. And that's the strength we have. And then we should make sure that happens. And we hope we might have Professor Fall later to come and conclude on the thing that the MSDG have done again and again. People have to know that this is no fault to anybody around here, but it is to hold them accountable, and that will be done. And that will move me to Koto. Koto Seno. You buy maslabi, you buy suturabi. Koto. Koto Seno Mega.
Wow.
You buy maslabi, you buy suturabi. And what I mean to encourage our political parties in order to abide by these laws, to be proactive, to be progressive. I mean, giving political parties the work. Real am I kilifa yo xamne sa gisuñ len nem ñu melni ay ño xamne seen sey la fatas ñu tongo wante lan lañ expect njobot bi ma.
Waaw li nga laajte loon ben lu am solo la. Maa ngi déglu waxtaan wi. Maa ngi déggali Ibrahima wax ak John, Jegaan, Hadi ak lii yëpp. Waaye xam nga lii nii yëpp dafa am lu mu ëmb noonu. Foo naa Ibrahima wax ne like we have a system problem. Ba pare wax na itam am na comment fii léegi wax ne, you know, it's an old saying, power consists to nothing but power. You know, so it's very obvious, Ibrahima, ne, you know, political parties you don't expect ne ñi ak seen wër yi ñu wër àddina yëpp CRC bi ñu xatal ñu almost few months ñu ne dem nañ wari réew pour jët xam ñu lan lañ foog ne mooy gën a suxal réew mi noonu ñëw nañ Washington DC dem nañ Atlanta dem nañ fu nekk noonu ñëw waaye da nga gis ne war woowu noonu yëpp ban njëriñ la am maslaha bii nii nag moo ñoo rëy ba pare yéen yu bëri dañ ko def wékkaku ci man lu ma cee amee politiciens yi ñoom falma ma gën la ak ñi nga xam ne mënuñoo def dara ñoom seen bopp noonu lu keneen door ko noonu su ko keneen dooree rek ñëw sàcc ko sa loxo noonu undermine affaire bi noonu so xam nga li nga laajte nii dafa am solo noonu waaye I am so happy maa ngi dégg ndaw yi Ibrahima John ak ñoom Hadi ak lisi nii yëpp having very sharp ideas yoo xam ne lii nii foog ñu tënk ko rek mu nekk doole power we have to have the power so maa ngi dégg John itam di wax this unscientific approach yi nii di wax ne daal gars yi ngi project ne daal dañoo register 1 million people noonu xam nga yéen is on some bogus lines so ñun 200,000 yi nekk ci biti noonu xanaa loolu la gars yi doon di yaakaar ne daal mooy ñëw mutali 800,000 bi mu nekk million ñu ñëw faf or ñun nii so maslaha bi noonu dafa war a stop nag su stoput lii moo ñoo gaañ ba pare nag di delloo gannaaw suñ ndaw yi ñu frustrate ba door di dem backway bi ak ñeneen ñi xam nga ñeneen ñi sax di tàggatoo ak seen sago so man ni ma gisee affaire bi fi mu nekk doomu aadama li ñu ràññee yeneen rab yi mooy ñun dañ dee toog ñu waxtaan su dara amee ñu solve problème bi noonu loolu rek am ñu ràññee ay yeneen animal si waaye su fekkee ne wax gi dafa am foofu noonu rek boo musuba naaru laay moo ñoo dal foog ñu jéem a toog fi mu nekk nii daal wax gi doy na nañ jël action maa ngi dégg yi jeegaan di wax noonu yëpp yéen yëpp yu am solo la waaye foog ñu door di woon ñi ne la listen yéen su taxutoon ñun waxuma rek am naa ne nit ñi ñoo vote fii nii waaye su taxutoon ñun si beginning bi noonu comme gi ñu waroon a dugal si élection bi yéen yii yëpp nañ wax dëgg rek fan la jógee so xam nga ngeen ñëw or nit ñi nii ba pare boo ko def loo xam ne daal politics as usual il faut ne daal nit ñi wala xam nga ku ñëw rek mën nañoo tuur leen dem ñun ñu nekk fii nii dem di xeex pour politiciens yi nii di ci ñàkk sa bakkan sax te suñ toogee ñoom dañ la du faaleti sax di seen problème bi am ni ñàkk a dëkkuwaay bu baax marge xiif bi yëpp ba tey moo fay nekk so just to go back to fona Ibrahima ma ko power we have to foog ñu xam lanay power what is power because power mooy power gars yi they have power over our lives moo tax ñu ñoo def li ñoo def nii so we must cultivate power te ni nga mën a cultivate power mooy ndaw yi mag yi ak ñi nga xam ne ñii dañ leen wane nañ ne daal ñoom réew mi moo leen saf topp ñëwuñ fii ni pour line seen pocket si noonu o amee ci dara noonu ñu ñuy torox politiciens yu bari noonu lañ mel nag falma ma génn la falma ma amee xaalis sa torox tànge so xam nga Ben man fi mu nekk nii to be honest with you xam nga man dama foog ne daal wax gi dafa doy fi mu nekk nii foog ñu door du woon ñii ne leen ne ñun ñoo leen teg fii nii yow man naka laa la falee ba pare ragal la it should be the other way around man maa la fal yow yaa ma ragal because war foog mun naa am yu ma def ci National Assembly ñu génnee la fas National Assembly ak even président bi noonu so loolu mooy doole mooy power ci mbooloo mooy doole noonu so one last thing gis nga one of the problems that we do so-called the diaspora bi nii gis nga Ben fii soo fi dellu see as an individual man ma ñëw rek ne dama dellu see as an individual dañ ma isolé balaa ñoo wax ëllëg ñu faas ma affaire bi dañoo dellu si dëkk bi ni sayi mata benn mata mun nga ko dama waaye sayi mata kan ko mën a dama loolu lañ war a loolu la diaspora bi def na léegi-léegi nag moo xulooyee gars yi man dama leen ne man daal man duma diaspora man juru réew mi la axan yaaga na Amérique nag waaye duma li ñaay ne banta boo jël sànni ko si géej gi noonu mun naa tumba fii dem ba Amérique waaye du sukkal ko jësit mu so xam nga Wow, nañ bàyyi competition bi nii ñu collaborate. You know.
Thank you very much, Koto. Molo mooy doole foofu moom dëgër na trop. I mean, war nañ koo dégg. ñu moo tax ñu ne mag baax na si réew mbooloo mooy doole foog naa ne loolu war nañ koo déggal suñu boppa. And just to say that we are going to add 15 to 30 minutes. The rest of the people that have not had the second round to speak will give you to just to sum up your thoughts from the discussion today, and as your closing remarks, because we'll want to have Professor Fall to finally come at the end, tail end, to give us an update on the MSDG based on the MSDG project. Thank you. I will pass on to Jegan before I'll go to Killer Ace and the rest. Oh, let me get Killer Ace. Killer Ace.
Yes, sir. I will grab Bible.
No, them on. Yeah, you them on. No, Mungadem. Wow, Mungadem, just, give us a summary of, your load.
Okay, so basically,
then you are.
Wow, man, basically, apart from Nulmalache, I will basically say a few comments on the reason why I believe we are in the situation that we are in today in general. And it's sad that this is just one of many other nonsenses that I call it, that we have been facing as a citizenry ever since, we changed, quote unquote, changed, So I believe there's a major issue with the diaspora itself, with the impact and the numbers that the diaspora actually have, proper, structured, organized, mobilized, one united movement within themselves. That used to be the case back then when we were all fighting against Gambia, but now everybody's in their own pockets, sex, kuneka, muneka, side, organizing X, Y, Z, saying, but there's not this one uniformity of the diaspora force that, would have a maximum impact on the ground. But the only time the diaspora actually has major impact is when, people need money and stuff like that. But with the numbers that are there, with the brilliant minds that are there, with all of the people who've been in the struggle over the years in the diaspora, I really think that it's high time that, they get organized, they get more united so that they can at least have more of an impact, That's one particular, and two, you have to understand that this problem is one, the income diaspora is the one that sponsors civil disobedience and protest and a lot of things that are happening in the threat to the incumbent. So the incumbent and the executive will never ever want to see the diaspora vote as long as it's in their position or power or have the influence to not make you guys vote because you guys are seen as a threat. We've heard from the president, the fact of the matter is you guys are seen as a threat. You guys are seen as people who destabilize the country or organize or fund protests behind, and stuff like that. So to be honest, you guys are seen
Saline Bangi Bonde.
Who can contribute towards the government. It's sad, it's very sad. Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, yes, better now, yeah. So, Maria, I think we have lost place.
So then diaspora administration. Oh.
I'm sorry, the line is very poor. Okay. Thank you. We just try and move on to Madi. Madi is back with us. Madi, if you just want to come in and sum up your experience from this conversation and the final remarks that you want to give.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's always good to have a conversation. So in really reflecting on this issue, not just today, but over the period, like the whole country. I think what is at stake here, or what is the issue here, is the health and the strength of our republic. And so whilst we may have all the frustrations genuinely that we have, I think it is necessary we just also reflect on the whole situation. We are in 2021, 21st century, but the issues we are talking about should not even be talked today. I mean, these things should have been addressed since the first day of independence, because the constitution of the Gambia says sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia, and the government and all its organs derive their legitimacy and authority from the people. And that means all Gambians that are citizens inside the Gambia, and if they're outside the Gambia, they are citizens. And mind you, whilst we are talking about diaspora vote, even Gambians in the Gambia in prison don't vote. And they are right. It is their right to vote as sovereign citizens of this country. Every citizen of the Gambia is sovereign. So what is happening for me is we are facing a situation, in which our republic is still not the perfect republic, if that is anything to what one can achieve. Because look, 230 so years, there was a vote in the US Congress last week about right to vote, that denying people to vote. Now, that is not a justification to say what we experiencing is justified, but just to say building a republic is a tough job, it's an unending job as we move towards perfection. And I totally agree with people saying there's a system problem. Yes, and that explains why we are here. We should go beyond the maslaha and the sutura now, but we have to talk. And I think what is happening is we are seeing Gambians doing what others have done to build, to strengthen their republic. That is getting into action, as Usainu was talking about. Now, for the first time, we are seeing more civil society organizations going to court. For the period during the dictatorship, or maybe since independence, the only persons we see going to court, to the Supreme Court, apart from political actors, was the Gambia Press Union. But now we are seeing inside the Gambia, civil society, Gambians outside, also going to court. So that is action. All right. I think this action also needs to be backed by us getting into practical positive action on the ground, in the street, to protest, as we see everywhere it is taking place, to protect democracy, to strengthen the republic. I say it in many forums in the Gambia here, until we make our politicians face a risk, they are not going to do the right thing. We sit here sometimes in the Gambia, you hear people say a black man doesn't resign. They resign. They resign from their job. But when you understand things, you realize when in America or Europe politicians resign, it is not because they are decent people, but they know the risks they face for the things they do if they do not resign. And so we have to create that situation here in the Gambia as well, that politicians face risks for their words and actions or their inactions. And until we do that, by going to court, by protesting, by taking practical steps. Now, some of it is taking place just that at a very minimal, at a very isolated case, and which is not really, sustainable. All right. And until we take this thing up, every little thing, and again, our civil society in the Gambia and outside, we don't have to consider one issue to be more important than the other. Like diaspora voting is important, but right now, TRRC is important. Lack of ethnicity is important. And I know when I engage with some other people, they would say, but Madi, we can't fight all the battles and we have to select our battles, or we will exhaust our energy. I don't know about that. But what I know, at the end of the day, given especially our political culture, civil society has to pick up all things in a very sustained, manner. Or otherwise, this talking will continue, but the change that we want to enhance our republic, to give meaning to the sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia, real meaning, it's not going to happen. So I think this conversation should continue, but the cases that are in court should continue. And again, let us not target government alone. I said it in the forum yesterday. We had a forum here yesterday that ultimately political parties run the government. They run the country in a republic. They're either in power or out of power. Political parties, they produce the president. They produce National Assembly members. They produce mayors. They produce local councils. So political parties are the ones who are in charge of the institutions of our governance and development. Therefore, we have to focus on political parties equally, even if not more than the government. Because all this mess we are in, why we don't have diaspora voting up to today, is the fault of primarily the political parties. Because they are the ones in parliament who made this law. They are the ones who, insist on these things. Until today, you go to, for example, the elections bill, you will find, let's say, the issue of attestation, which should not have been in our election law in the first place, because the political parties themselves in 2012, when they formed GOFA, in 2012, there are 12-point demands. One of them was to remove attestation. Now, those same political parties are the ones today, UDP, PPP, NRP, DOI, and others are the ones today inside our National Assembly and inside the cabinet, and they still maintain this attestation in our election law. So we need to address our political parties. So I think basically this is what I want to share as a final note. But a great conversation indeed.
Thank you very much. We are happy to have you all the time, Madi. Thank you. I will just move on to Moduba from Wanet. Modu. Modu, if you're with us.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Suare. I think, thank you very much, Mr. Suare. As a coalition, we will continue to monitor the pre-electoral context, which also includes the voter registration. We will also going to amplify and sensitize the people. The issue of registering non-eligible passings, that's non-Gambians, and including the minors. And also what we plan to do is, at the end of the day, as a coalition, we will be able to evaluate the general voter registration exercise. We will also look at the accuracy of the voter register and its inclusivity. So we will continue the conversation. We will continue to amplify our voices, the importance and the needs of having the diaspora participate in the upcoming elections, because it's a key important constituent that we think, as I have said earlier, would give legitimacy and weight to the credibility of the elections, of these upcoming elections. Because it doesn't mean we don't have the infrastructure in place. It doesn't mean we don't have the capacity. So what is lacking is the political will and the commitment. But as civil society, we'll continue the conversation and advocate for the participation of the diaspora. So it has been a very fruitful conversation. We look forward to more engagements so that we can all be on the same page and on board together to ensure that we have a peaceful elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ba. I know now you might be leaving us before we finish the program because you'll be rushing to the kitchen. But let me get out my sister to Tabusar. I know she too is. She already read our appetite with the plazas boiling at the background. Tabu.
Okay, thank you very much. My final note is I think we still need to keep the conversation going. But also, I wanted to ask a question. Do you have anyone representing you here on the ground?
Okay. Yes, I think I will reserve that. We have Professor Fall coming.
Okay.
Because I want to hold Professor Fall on the spot for MSDG have done a tremendous job to see what they can add onto that. I think I know where you're going with this. and it's about the collaboration and bringing the civil society together.
Because I think, I think what I have to say is I just want to remind everyone that in building our democracy, we must all come together. Because denying 200,000 eligible voters right to vote, one is a violation of a human right. But also, for the past 50 years, we remain underdeveloped, and we need your expertise here, as well as what we are doing on the ground. Because civil society, as I always say, we have power, we have hidden power, but we don't realize it. So what I will advise is to continue the collaboration, but also to ensure that we communicate. At least if there is a platform that we can we can come up with and communicate with each other, I think that will help. Also, it's important for us to be together simply because we will know what is going on. And from experience, I think the talking should stop now. We need actions because the women of this country have been talking since independence, and nothing is constructive for us. So we are tired of being the yai companies. We are tired of being clapping and dancing and buying assobis. We want something fruitful. That is why we use a different approach of going through a private member's bill. We did not go to the courts. We would have. We had that opportunity, but we said no. We will go through a private member's bill and keep moving. We are the ones behind this bill because there was opposition all over, even with women themselves. People have been on social media saying it's tokenism. But if you don't have nothing, tokenism is better because equity brings in equality. And one will be surprised to see the number of women that will come in 2022 parliamentary elections. And I think the same thing should apply to the diaspora. If you want constituencies, we will be on the ground supporting, doing proactive advocacy as we had done because we've learned it. But my brothers and sisters, power is never given to anybody. You take it. You take it. That's what we have learned. And being the president of the platform, I have learned this and I believe in it. Now we really, as Usaino has said, we really need to stop the talking and act. So I'm very grateful and I thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of the discourse. It was very interesting and I have learned, but I'm also sorry that we would have taken you on board as well in the proposal that we sent in. But still, there is still time. So all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tabu. So we'll try and get some of these things discussed later, and more forums will be open to discuss these issues as important to engage in order to find the solutions. Thank you. Jegan, if you're with us, Jegan.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
Tabu, if you don't mind, Tabu.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. Yeah, Jegan, you can come in now.
Can you hear me? And you can see me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Just to say, just quickly, I mean, I think people have made, some very salient points in this discussions and also some very concrete suggestions as we move forward. Just a few things and I'm going to be very brief. I think it's obvious to everybody that, we should never have gotten to this level. We should never have sunk to the depths that we have sunk to now, given the raised expectations that we had in December and then subsequently after Barrow was sworn in January, post the impasse. But this is what it is. We are where we are. We've been disappointed. There have been dashed expectations. Nothing has happened as far as the reforms are concerned. And now we're beginning to find ourselves that we are actually scrapping and fighting with the Gambia government primarily, and also the IEC subsequently, for our rights to vote as Gambians living abroad. I think certainly, as things stand, and I think Madi said it earlier, and so did Uncle Osmenga and others, that, it is clear now that after 4 years or 4.5 years of a Barrow administration, the appetite for the respect for the views of citizens, Gambian citizens, by the public servants, those that we put in power to at least safeguard our best interests, isn't there. They're not a listening government. So as a result, what do you do in this instance? You have to constitute yourself to be a public nuisance to be taken seriously. And that means, obviously, some agitation and civic action. And civic action could be, some of the court cases that we've taken. And also, obviously, I think, we need to go further. There needs to be amplification of voices. There need to be boots on the ground, on the streets, targeting, embassies abroad, targeting the IAC, targeting the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to basically shout at them and tell them that at the end of the day, if you're not listening to our whispers, if you're not returning our letters and our correspondence as respectfully as we have actually channeled these grievances, then we will shout at you. And I think that is probably a next step that, symbolically we would need to consider. I think clearly, as things stand now also, throughout this court case and part of these discussions that we're having, which are very useful, I think we are sending a clear message to the IEC, specifically, that they need to realize that they are a service provision agency. They provide a service to us. They're not doing us a favor. This is something that they are mandated to do by law. And as a result, they must dialogue with the stakeholders, which is ourselves, and they must take, obviously, some of the suggestions that we put on the table into consideration so that the Gambia becomes a more democratic, a more inclusive, a more participatory, and also a more open society. I think clearly as things stand now, it's on record and there is enough evidence that there's failure all around. The IPC, which is the inter-party committee at the IEC, has failed us. The IEC has failed us. The National Assembly, to a certain degree, has failed us. And the Borough Administration has failed us. So now we are only left with one last final bastion of hope and a last final course for recourse for us, which is obviously the courts. So as things stand now, we wait with bated breath to find out whether they'll do the right thing and actually uphold justice and the rule of law, and also obviously the right to vote, which is the primary right in any democratic society for every Gambian, whether you live in that country or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Ibrahima, I would want to ask a favor. If you can do your closing remarks with a summary in Mandinka. I know you are very comfortable with speaking your language, local language, because you host your programs on, mostly on local languages. If you can do us that favor, please.
Yeah, ala para kamben badin Gambian call mbalbe dauda civil society nyanta kela minti wala mu moliti mi ya lonko ye lanno soto sain katambi masakundal ni political party la wala mol late to lanko they are independent mol ya lonko e tolle banko la interest soto but civil society nyanta min kela wala mu continuously wala mu katu wati puru a culture puru democratization wala nangam fangoli soto ye wo kele because ninta nunga fellan wala mu I think in Sita na bencho kana biringa yaya jamme bondije the civil societies wala moliti mi ya lonko kafo mi en ko banko la kulta iseke molti mi ya lonko ise mazakunda ta ya face pour ye losilo ke sena bari nga mazakunda ni politician no lati la baba kele nge trust ko they can do these things I think woman na mistake call it so wala na civil societies nyanta min kela wala mu continuously ye engage banko la nyato tala through democracy. Bao politician only tola interest da meko da male jibe. Once it had a power break and mola mini along common people lo mini be pataring, mini ke tol depends, puri tole balu, yenina wala. So sa in tolinyanta minkel as civil society associations, I think Gambia funding ke mini be pataring, I think Gambia musol, I think musol la activism, nyanta civil society nyanta support la baba bakel. Nyanta minkel wala mu wati. Purun tolinga singa nyo karandi. Banku dingoli ya long mi ya long ko muina nyantoti pour e banko la interest ngo jiben kana o tu politician ol bulu nkana tu a political party bulu nkana tu momo bulu mini ya long ko walmu semi independent body le ko IEC so ndole nyanta minkela ngana gata wati and fight for banko la nyatota and one when so can no wolomu sembo bentol le bulo kono imagine politician all they are buying our vote be borna norma because ya lon ko sembo bentol le bul ban dol fam malon ko sembo bentol le bulo kono wala sabu be nying disrespect ni yabate mu me be kono but once nga realize ko sembo bentol le bulo kono nyim banko bi tala nyato because politicians will listen to us ni nata je mim man perform nga bondi je nim parliamentary mim man ko MPT bi je lafita minda banko la nyato te man so ala we mobilize money and go against you and you bondi je so ni alon control se nyinge but I don't think we realize how powerful we are me along como civil society and funding Kelly specifically and until nga along how powerful we are then nothing is going to change left to these politicians alone. That means we are going to only rely on luck wala mandinga political kendo so that's why nimmo wo so be continue la ni nyama and so far Gambia experience nga minje woto mon political nyaton ko kendo so min nata binala bankola interest nim funding kella interest ani mo batari won nim musola interest ala na manke tol fa wala interest so mba altentu lambali jayila muskatral jalele but I think I can speak mandinga a little bit better so thank you to all of you
iko IG yeah. Thank you very much. And I just want to change the format a minute. I want to bring on Professor Fall, so that because I know there's a Yeteba and there's a Sar here and there's a Menga here, and if we leave it that long, they might not be patient enough to wait for Professor Fall to come in. And it's important to get Professor Fall to come and reiterate the MSDG project. And again, I want to ask, put a suggestion to Professor Fall, holding him on the spot, due to the capacity the MSDG project has. Mr. Fall, if you can you respond, please?
Thank you very much, Ben. And if I'm not mistaken, this would be the last of the current series of events. Mm-hmm. And I hope that after a very short break, it would return. Mm-hmm. So I take the opportunity, since all our guests are here, to thank you and the other civil society consultation team, Charnoba, Maimuna Tal, Ndai Jabate, and Elizabeth Sose Sise, and to thank the broadcasters who simulcasters, Block TV, Gainako, Diasporium, Fatu Radio, and Mamos TV. And of course, the organizations involved, Gambia House, Right to Know, Duga, and MSDG. For Madam Sar, our colleagues at MSDG, we do have an office in Gambia, and our colleague, Mr. Pamusa Sidibe, is on the call. We will make sure that he contacts you. Can I also take the opportunity to thank not only all the speakers today, but throughout this series, and today particularly to extend my greetings to our Koto Osmenga. Listening to the discussion today, I am most tempted to misquote Gil Scott Heron. He advised us that the revolution will not be televised. I am tempted to warn that the Festival of Revolution will not be live streamed. We are described as the diaspora, which sometimes attract a sense of foreignness and exotic outsiderness, the equivalent of what the Wolof call Dohandem. Mm-hmm. And then we are treated like Dohandem, that is marginalized and excluded from some of the main decisions that the principals make. To the extent that the situation we are in now, I think it is beyond disappointment, it is beyond frustration. It is in the realm of what I would call monumental outrage, for we are about to witness constitutional breach and electoral law illegality. We wait to hear what the court says, but every analysis suggests that's where we are now. From all of the engagements, from the technical work we do, from the discussions we've had with every party involved, I mean, not political party, every institutional party involved, I would repeat what we have said time and time again. For the diaspora to vote, to be registered and to vote in elections in Gambia, there is zero constitutional problem for that to happen. There is zero legal problem for that to happen. There is zero financial problem for it to happen. Mm-hmm. I admit there might be logistical problems. There might be mobilization problems. There might be awareness raising problems. But all of these, none of them are insurmountable. And as MSDG, we are a technical cooperation program. We have devoted most of our time on focusing on these operational and logistical issues, supporting the IEC and the National Assembly. These are just two of many other public institutions we support in Gambia on a technical basis, which includes the Central Bank of the Gambia relating to remittances, the University of the Gambia, and others. So it is, in my assessment, the basis of these facts that there is zero constitutional or legal restraint and there are no insurmountable problems. This is what gave the IEC the confidence to repeatedly state publicly that the diaspora will vote. And this, as most of you will remember, was most articulately stated on the 9th of January at the 4th Stake in the Nation Forum by the chairman of the IEC. And for anybody who had any lingering doubt as to whether the law allowed for the diaspora to vote, on the 27th of January, the Supreme Court, responding to the case brought by a group of Gambians, including Jagan, who's on the call, made it absolutely clear that the diaspora can vote. And the interpretation even went beyond what some of us expect, in that it extended this right not only to presidential and parliamentary elections, but even to local elections. So on that basis, the question and the worry about the state of outrage we reach is, how did we come to be where we are? There would be a number of political reasons, perhaps, why this is happening, but the legal reason have to stay with the IEC, because the IEC is the organizer of elections. If they are under political assault or political influence or lack of cooperation or whatever reason, it is for them to cry out loud for everyone to hear that their work is being impeded. IEC would indeed tell us, and it would be true, that they have in the past year, since we MSDG have been working, we've been working with them for the past 3 years, that they have contacted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to engage them, and they did not get any response. And that would be true, and that would be a failure of MOVA. But that is not a reason for IEC not to discharge its constitutional obligations. It would be for them to flag that up and get whatever redress they needed. But as we say, the substantive of the technical analysis and support that IEC need, they had received it not only from MSDG, but from other institutions, including IFES and IDEA and UNDP. Right now, this election, this voter registration is being undertaken under the existing law. So the bill being debated, it's not yet law. So this voter registration is happening under the 2009 Act, Chapter 3, which in fact is a word-for-word copy of the 1998 directive. Now, this act not only is it explicit about Gambians in the diaspora voting, it anticipated and created facility under Section 141 for the IEC to make rules to make it possible for the diaspora to vote. That is why every reason we hear as an excuse or a possible explanation for not registering the diaspora now is without, in my mind, any merit. The absurdity, the request that the Gambians in the diaspora should go back to Gambia to register is an absurdity that is not worth further discussion. The suggestion that the diaspora, that demarcated diaspora constituencies are needed for voter registration also holds no merit. Diaspora constituencies are needed for diaspora elected representatives, and that is for the parliamentary elections of May 2022. For now, the diaspora can be voted, can be registered in any of the 53 constituencies that exist. In our work with the IEC on logistics operations, we started from the most onerous requirements to the most opportune. The most onerous is for them to do voter registration and conduct diaspora elections using ballot box and marbles. That is the most onerous. And for that, it is absolutely eminently possible. The detail to the last number of marble they have to get, and because all of those analyses have been done, they have the data. And since this series of discussions have started, and listening to comments and observations and recommendations, MSDG have also analyzed and written framework for the most opportune options that can be followed. One of them would be to open up a pre-voter registration online form, which the diaspora would fill in, not as the legal requirement for registration, but a declaration of interest. And then for the IEC to know who are these Gambians that say they are registering, which cities they are in, and which countries. That would aid immensely their operational and management elements. And as you know, the voter registration form is a very, very simple one. It asks you of your names, your gender, your date of birth, your occupation, your address, your place of birth, and the constituency in which you are seeking to be registered in. That is one of the 53. All of this can be on an online form for people to fill, for the IEC to have. On registration day, you then need to prove your eligibility, and the normal proof of eligibility, ID card, a passport, birth certificate, and I don't think Alcali's attestation would be relevant in the diaspora. So that is the most opportune circumstances. But even if it was worse, that is voting by marbles, that is eminently possible. All of the analysis and the calculations have been made. Now, I would say that if anyone, where IEC is at now, we maintain relationship with them. Our last contact with them was few days ago, and we made 2 points. One was to congratulate them for registering over 500,000 people within less than a 3-week period. So that is a massive achievement. The registration process, after your waiting time, in Gambia, it takes between 9 to 13 minutes for someone to be registered, meaning that despite all of the problems and issues we're hearing, broadly speaking, the registration is going quite well. And we reminded IEC that if they were worried about their capacity, perhaps this should give them confidence that they would be able to do the diaspora voter registration, especially with the help of everyone else. Our work is technical support. So we don't have any discussions with the IEC about our rights to vote, because we think our right to vote is not up to debate. And anybody debating it, even, you are in the realm of unconstitutional behavior. So the discussion we have with them is, what can we do? When can we do it? Finally, Ben, we reminded them that in our estimate, if it's going to be practically possible for them to register the diaspora, they really must start that around the 1st of August, meaning that around the 1st of July, they have to switch on the button for the operational preparation to start. That means for them to recruit the temporary diaspora electoral officers. They have the means, and they've just finished doing that for Gambia. They have to recruit, induct, and prepare those. And then all the civil society organizations, from Agera to Kombosila Association to not only Gambian civil society, but all the civil society, will all come on board for awareness raising, for mobilization, and for the exercise of our constitutional right to vote. That is the situation we are in. We will remain absolutely ready and willing to give every support that the IEC needs, and I'm sure everyone else is. If, for whatever reason, the court decision does not reaffirm the decision that was made by the Supreme Court, that would be astonishing. So it is really a very interesting phase we get into in hearing what the court would say. But for IEC, we are ready to help you. And if for whatever reason Gambia finds itself in a situation where the diaspora is not voting, then that omission, that breach of the Constitution, that outrage would be a stain on us and would cause significant harm. And I am at this stage just urging IEC to come back on Monday and press that button for diaspora voter registration to start. Thank you so much.
Mr. Fall, if you just allow me, I mean, I don't expect an answer, but just to have an acknowledgement. Something raised here from the discussion today with the civil society representative here, and we all agreeing that we need to organize more, we need to strategize in order to be effective. And without taking much time, I can just give an example. I think there's a mindset we have that we are second to the other stakeholders, and we don't realize our power or our rights or responsibilities in the being part of that sector of governance. And the example is what we can do. We have proven, but we can do far more than that. As in the case of Sudan, it was the civil society that actually break the deadlock to bring the dictator down and in fact to bring the politician to the table and move on. I'm not saying exactly we copy what happened in Sudan, but I am appealing from your technical background, I mean MSDG project, and your memory of what's been going on with the likes of Jagan from his civil society background, technical and communication, for us to map out a way that we can bring, as Sister Tabu have raised, to organize us better. And this is not the diaspora, but civil society as a whole. I don't know what your mandate is or whether it's something can be adopted or not. I share it on air for others to realize that we have made the demand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. And I think we have seen what Koto Usainu have reminded us about the importance of grouping together. And I think even in this exercise over the past few weeks have strengthened this. And we have our counterparts in Gambia. So, for example, in Gambia, John Jai is on this call. We've been one of the speakers. We've been coordinating with Tango from the very time we started operating in Gambia. So we also not only connect amongst ourselves in the diaspora, but also connect with our partners in Gambia. So all of us should, in fact, even be members of Tango and some of the other networks. And I think it is that collective, not intra within the diaspora, but inter back with the country. And I'm sure there would be a debriefing after this series, and there would be sort of some action plans would come out of it for actions to be taken in the coming weeks. And we hope that we wouldn't spend most of our energy and resources on attrition. We hope that we would be spending it on the joys of positive action and innovation and all that beauty and that awaits us if democracy is strengthened and opened up. This is what we most desperately want. And we really regret and abhor the fact that we are having to fight for what effectively is ours and it's not worth for anybody to steal from us. So that is my sense as we speak today. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much again. Thank you. I would just want to get the rest of the panelists that have not have their final word, 2 minutes each, and I'll start with Aisha, because as I said, we have some sharers here and we have someone Yeteba in the background and Yeteba on the platform, and they need to go and fix themselves up. Aisha, if you are ready to come on, please. Aisha, you're mute.
Yes. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jagan, for sharing that information on the plans that have been proposed. The suggestions actually and solutions offered to the diaspora, to the IEC for the way forward. I just want to concur
that was Professor Fall, not Jagan.
Okay. Yes, Jagan actually shared.
Sorry. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah,
sorry.
In the chat. Yeah. So I also concur with Professor Fall regarding the fact that others, representative of the diaspora who in the Gambia, should join the coalition on elections. So I just want to thank everyone and for the opportunity as well, the organizers, to share and discuss the way forward. For me, actually, I'm looking forward to the next steps. And for concrete actions, just to give my background actually is on journalism, communication, and advocacy. I also do development work and also on digital strategy. So I am ready to help and move things forward. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Aisha. The next on the list, just a minute, should be Hadi.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for this insightful conversation. Sorry, I have the Jalos and the Koulibalis crying for food right now, so I'll be prepared to run off to that. But I thank you guys for the opportunity to share information here and have insight on everything that you guys are talking about. Some of it is new to me, so I appreciate it and always looking forward to learn. Like Aisha, I suggest, I know that this is the last of your series, but you guys have put a lot of work into everything that you've been doing. I'm hoping and looking forward to what's next. And hopefully it's more action to push the agenda, to push the policies that would move us forward and bring progress to our people. As a civil society organization, AJERA is here to encourage awareness, to push agendas that help improve our lives of our people. We're not separate from the Gambia, we just are in a different location, like Mr. Fall said. So hopefully we'll be able to contribute towards that. And also we just to let everyone know and encourage everyone to just be open to learning, learn from each other, learn from our neighbors so we can progress, because otherwise the silos are just going to kill the little we've done so far. So thank you again. Continue the great work and looking forward to taking action with you guys.
John Charles, yeah. John Charles?
Suleiman, we can't hear you.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Suleiman, we can't hear you.
Go ahead, Liz. Go ahead, Liz.
Okay, can we have the closing statements from the rest of our panelists, please?
Hello everyone. Please, once again. This time, I'm going to all of. Man, again, didn't Santa Bubahaba see invitation me, and then Simon, watan la dona watan bu nga xamantene ni dañ ko soxla. So luma am pour wax moy su passé lu ma len gërem ma ngay ñaax képp ko nga xamantene ni yang ci diaspora bi nga fatale ko ne dëkk bi kenn ëpp la fi kaddu nga nekk fu ak nga nekk fi yëpp a am parce que soko xolé en route élection bala ñu agas élection bi lu nga xamantene mo xew ci road ak yeen seen demal bu nga xamantene ni mo ak ci fini ci walum préparation élection bi ak campagne bi yoyu nonu amul kenn ku nga xamante ne ëmp na la saka last presidential election bi nii so ñu ko ne de xam ne i nit bokk ngeen si mbir mi ba pare kenn war leen ko aaye te su soobee yàlla ñi nga xamante ne ñoo fi nekk spécial youth parliament lépp lu nga xamante ne mun nañ ko def si kéemtalaay kàttan bu nga xamante ne ñu am affaire emale bépp ndaw bu nekk fii si Gambia right now ndegam xam nga ni bu la registré bàyyi on bul fàtte dem jël sa carte nga préparé élection bi incha allah balaa registration bi close fekk tamit ñu ngi def si ni doole si wàllum naka la noo def ba diaspora bi tamit ñu mën a bokk si biir mbir ñu leen di gërëm di leen sant bu baax a baax a baax ba beneen yoon incha allah.
Jërëjëf, thank you very much. If you can hear me, let's have John Charles Jai. I think he should be our last one. John Charles. Liz.
I think you might want to take the closing remarks of Killer Ace or someone else on the platform, Suleiman, if they've not spoken.
I think you.
Yes, greetings once again.
Yes, Killer Ace, can we have your closing remarks, please? Killer Ace, can you hear us?
Yeah, definitely. Wow, thank you to the organizers. This was a very fruitful to be part of the conversation, and hopefully would like to also connect with the rest of the panelists on way forward. And I just want everybody to, as we think is going to be, because we're fighting against something that is against the favor of the incumbent and others. So I believe that there's a lot that should be done, a lot can be done, and hopefully if we can just collectively use our various capacities, to just to strike a blow. And I'm signing off. Thanks so much for having me as part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Killer H. If you can hear me, John Charles Jai is the last one. We should have to give a closing remark. I think, Liz, you can do the closing remark and you can close the program then.
Thanks ever so much, Suleiman. Thanks to all of our panelists who have joined us. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank our listeners, to thank all the panelists who have graced this platform in the past 6 weeks. This has been the 7th week that we're running this sensitization program. Also take this opportunity on behalf of the organizers, Suleiman, to thank you for your efforts in ensuring that the programs run smoothly. I think I'll be doing a great injustice if I try to add anything to what Professor Fall has said earlier. And as they've said before, Mbolo moy dole, let's take our rights. We know what we're entitled to. It will not be given to us on a silver platter. Let's demand it. And let's do it without fear, favor, or ill will. Thank you all. See you again. Bye.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.